Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this webinar for T-levels, the Management and Admin T-level. And today we're going to be giving you an overview of the Technical Qualification. If you were engaging with us last year, then this is kind of a repeat. But if you're new, you are most welcome to stay. Can I just check, actually I've been rabbiting on, can I just check that everyone can hear me? So just, great, I'm getting some hands up already. So that's fantastic, we'll carry on. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us today. My name's Karen Egan and I'm one of the technical advisors here at ILM and City and Guilds. Just to do some housekeeping with you to begin with. We have got you all on mute today, but do feel free to engage with us by asking any questions by using the right-hand tab marked questions, and we will do our very best to answer those questions for you today. If we can't answer them, we will make sure that we get the answer for you and come back to you. So do engage with us along the way, and there will be plenty of time at the end for some questions. We've probably only got about 20 minutes of content today. I know we've scheduled 45 minutes, but we will obviously have plenty of time for questions, and do ask anything, even if it's not directly related to the TQ. If there's a wider thing that you need to talk about specifically around this T level, then let me know. So just to give you an overview of who we are. As I said, before that, I'm Karen Egan, and along with Jill and I are on the call today. And our specialism is around leadership and management and coaching and mentoring. So obviously one of the pathways is around team leading, and so we've got particular expertise in those areas. Part of the team also is Dom Green. Unfortunately, Dom can't make it today, but he has the same role as ourselves, but covers business, the sector of business. And occasionally we are joined on these webinars, and she's certainly part of the team, is Alison Whittle. She is our technical advisor for post 16, and obviously has quite an involvement with our higher education institutes, and around progression from T levels is where her particular involvement takes place. So what are we going to talk about today? If you came along to the webinar last month, we sort of talked around what the whole T level covers, but today we're going to sort of look more specifically at the technical qualification that sits within it. So we're going to sort of look at the management and administration pathway, which incorporates the core and the occupational specialisms. We're going to touch on the industry placements and how that relates to the technical qualification, and then just share with you what resources we've got, what we've got coming up to support you with the year leading up to starting delivery in September next year. And obviously, as I said, there's the opportunity for questions as we go along. So as I've said, the main focus for today's webinar will be around the blue areas here. So a T level comprises of a technical qualification, an industry placement, a requirement to achieve maths and English at GCSE or functional skills level 2 if they haven't done already. Obviously enrichment and employability comes into that as well. As I've said, the focus today is on looking at the qualification which encompasses and the occupational specialisms. So just looking at the core there, that's assessed through external examinations and what is called an employer set project. Now, awkwardly, that project is not set by the employer, it's set by City and Guilds, but it's about applying their learning. So it's a project about employing the knowledge and skills that they've developed over the duration of the qualification. And it's sort of set in an employer in a real work environment rather than it being set by the employer that they've taken the industry placement to. So it's a bit of an odd phrase that is used there. You can see on the screen there that the core is graded A* to E and covers various concepts and theories and sort of the transferable core skills. And there are 3 occupational specialisms which are graded past merit and distinction, and we'll talk a bit more in detail about that, but that is assessed through a synoptic practical assignment. So moving on to our next slide, I'm showing you this really because the technical qualification is sort of split between the T-level is split 80% classroom based and 20% sort of industry placement, so on the job, as opposed to apprenticeships, which are 80% on the job and 20% sort of formal learning. So just wanted to show you that slide to clarify sort of one of the key differences in how that post-16 full-time learning works for you. So this is just an overview of the technical qualification. As you say, we've got the core business and administration component, and then there are so they undertake, everyone undertakes the core, and then the learners must complete 1 occupational specialism, and those 3 specialisms are business improvement, team leadership and management, or business support. There was a 4th pathway around information management that was originally in the technical qualification, but as we were developing it, we liaised with the Institute for Apprenticeships, and at the moment that pathway is not being developed and won't be part of the technical qualification option. So just taking a deeper look at what the core takes on board. So the key areas are the business context, people, quality and compliance, finance, policies and procedures, project and change management, and business behaviours. Okay, so that it takes care of all of the core within the technical qualification. Now, the occupational specialisms, or you may see it as OS, aligns to apprenticeship standards. So there are direct comparisons to the appropriate standards. So for business improvement, there's a direct link to the improvement technician apprenticeship. And what we've provided there for you is a link to the Institute for Apprenticeships website with the standard on there, so that you can take a good look at the knowledge, skills and behaviours that sit within that. But as you can see, you know, the key areas are about acquiring data for support and improvement, analysing data, engaging with stakeholders, identifying and proposing improvements, and monitoring and reporting. The second occupational specialism sits around team leadership and management. So as we've said before, this links strongly to the existing standard of team leader / supervisor. So this is where it covers leading, managing and developing individuals and teams, building relationships with colleagues, customers and stakeholders, and delivers core operational tasks and plans that you would associate with a team leader or a first line manager. So it looks in more detail at managing and implementing projects and applying governance and compliance requirements, but within that context of being a team leader. The third occupational specialism is business support, and this links directly to the apprenticeship of business administrator. So that area looks at supporting the running of the organisation, organising and prioritising workloads, recommending and delivering improvements, building and maintaining internal and external stakeholders, and managing the business and information flow. So you can see there that there are some overlap and some alignments within the overall management and admin T-level. So it's about making decisions about which is the best way to go once they've done their core. So I'll now hand you over to Jill, who's going to talk a little bit more about the assessment.
Thank you, Karen. Hi, everyone. So following, I seem to be echoing.
Let me go on mute just and see if that fixes it.
Okay, so following the consultation over the last academic year, it has been decided that the core exams and the employer set project will be assessed in the first year and the occupational specialism in the second year, and that they will have a 50-50 weighting. We did actually model using a 40-60 weighting, but that has been rejected through the feedback process, including the original T-level panel who decided against that also. So as you can see, there'll be 2 core exam papers, and each paper will be out of 100 marks. The duration will be 2.5 hours. And they'll be weighted at 30% of the overall core grade. So the core grade you can see there on the screen. So it'll be weighted at 30% for each paper. They will be externally set and marked, so they'll be set by us and marked by us. And there will be an assessment window where learners can sit those 2 core papers. And then again for the employer set project, that will be out of 100 marks, and that will be 24.5 hours, approximately 24.5 hours worth of work to do that project, and that's 40% of the overall core grade. And again, that's externally set and marked. And remember, as Karen said, it is not set by the employer. In terms of the practical assignments to cover the occupational specialisms, they will be, to be confirmed really, but about 90 marks each, duration of about 35 hours, and again, they will be internally marked. They will be marked by yourselves, but they will still be externally moderated by us at City and Guilds, and based on an overarching brief. So the overarching brief will be set by us. Could I have the next slide, please, Karen? So we've allocated suggested guided learning hours across the topic areas against the 2 core exam papers, as you can see here. So they're roughly equal, 260 and 250. So as you can see, paper 1, based on the overall, business context and its people and business behaviours. And then the focus of paper 2 will be more about the inner workings of the business and how it functions and how it operates. So that's just the guided learning hours to the core exams. Now on the next slide, we've included this because although technically the industry placement isn't part of the technical qualification, as Karen outlined earlier, every T-level does include an industry placement. So the employer focuses on developing the practical and technical skills that your learners need for that occupation. And it's pretty hefty, you know, it's about 45 days. It can be longer than that, but it must be a minimum of 315 hours. So this helps your learners to develop the skills and their experience that they need to complete the employer set project. And that's why we've included this slide, just because we think it's important that that's the bit really where, although you'll be delivering the knowledge and helping them to understand the skills and behaviours, this is where they will really be able to put that into practice. So we wanted to include that there then. On the next slide, there's just some information about the industry placement support documents, really, because there's lots out there. The DFE have provided a lot of support. The AOC website has got information for providers, toolkits. There's things for parents, things for students, things to do before and after. There's lots and lots of support out there. So we really would say to you, you know, have a look at that guidance. Use that guidance. It's there for you. And there's a link there on the slide when you get it to direct to that website where the guidance documents are. The next slide then just gives you the link to the specification content, which is now agreed. So it's all fully signed off, and it's there on our dedicated web page for T-levels, so you can have a good look at that final version now that it has been fully agreed. So what are we going to do next then? We're still working on developing resources to support delivery. So we are looking at providing a textbook. We're going to work with HODA for a specific textbook to support delivery, and more details about that will be along as soon as we have it. Over the next couple of months, our webinars will focus on the detail of the core and the occupational specialisms. And as we move more into the curriculum planning stage, we'll offer support for that, and also the teaching and learning support for the exams as that comes round. So we're planning on doing a series of these webinars across the year, and there's lots of support coming there along the way to delivery in September 22. And the next slide actually shows you our timeline that we've put together. And again, you can find that on that dedicated web page. So it just tells you when our activities are going to be and what those activities are about, so that you can have a look at, you know, getting those into your diaries, even perhaps in advance of us putting the links out there, so that if you're particularly interested in one of those workshops or activities, you can you know, not miss it. We are hoping to do some face-to-face over the next 6 months or so do look out for that, but we will continue to do some virtual as well. So as I said before, you know, we've updated the website. We've got a dedicated T-level website. We've got the timeline that I've just shown you there. We've got these provider focus groups and curriculum planning groups coming up. We do also have industry boards, which is the other side of it, I guess, which is the employers. So, you know, we are also working with the employer side and looking at what are their needs in terms of the T-levels, what do they want for people that have gained a T-level, and also they're a good source of information around, you know, finding industry placements. So we do have a strong connection with the employers as well. We do a quarterly e-bulletin, which hopefully you're all getting. If you're not, please do sign up for these on this dedicated webpage. Please do go in there and have a look and make sure you've set it as a preference that you get the information from us. As I said, the specs on there, and as Karen highlighted in the early slide, the dedicated technical advisors, myself, Karen, Dom, and also Ali there. To help you as well. So please do use us. We are here to be, you know, support you in this run up to delivery. On the next slide there's just a plug really for the free promotional material that the DFE have provided. It's, you know, there's posters, there's things for your events. If you're having any face-to-face events, there's lots of support documents there. There's toolkits, there's activity packs, there's lots and lots there to access. So just go straight from the link at the top to access those if you're interested. So that's the input really. We'd just like to thank you for listening, and I guess ask you if you've got any questions there. Can you see any, Karen?
Yeah, so there are a couple. Oh, and then they're coming through thick and fast now. Question here from Sammy saying, can you confirm the guided learning hours for the core? The specification states it's 600 guided learning hours. I would say the specification is correct. And I know we've put a range, haven't we, on our slide earlier? Would you agree with that?
It's in the specification, now that's been agreed, we have got a range on the slide, but yes, if it's in the specification, that will be correct. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you for that, Sammy.
So Sally has asked a question. What type of quality monitoring might be put in place by City and Guilds and ILM, e.g. to replace EQAs? So
it's a very similar role, isn't it? To it will be a very similar role to the EQA role, but I think it's called a TQA or something like that. But it's very similar. It's a moderator role rather than an EQA role. It's a moderator role.
Yeah. So Noel has asked a question. How does the work experience placement fit into the overall programme? Is it ongoing, block, end loaded, etc.? And is that at the discretion of the provider? So I'll kick off with that, Jill, if you like, and then you can add to it if I've missed anything. But it's really up to the training provider to work with the learner and the employer to look at what is the best fit. And it doesn't have to just be with one employer, it can be with two employers. So if the one industry placement doesn't quite cover everything that you want it to, but it's a good placement otherwise, then you can pick up with another employer to just cover it off. So it can be ongoing, it can be block, it can be end loaded, or anything in between really. So hopefully that answers your question. Anything to add there, Jill?
No, absolutely. That would be what I would have said. Yeah.
Okay. We've got a oh, Sammy said Fab, thank you. So Dee has asked a question around the industry placement as well. It says, with the work placement, does this need to be linked to the industry of the qualification? Well, with management and administration, they are pan-sector really. So, you know, I think it gives you a real breadth of sectors to choose from, because obviously administration and management sits across every sector. So, or are you talking more widely, Dee? Not sure if I've asked you. Come back to me, Dee, if we've not answered your question. So Sally has asked a question. Pearson are doing a termly remote monitoring with our T-level team. Will City and Guilds and ILM be doing anything like this? I'm not familiar with it. I mean, I think Pearson have got some wave 1 T-levels, haven't they? Which are they're in delivery now. You know, wave 2 has just begun, and I'm not sure what the arrangements are. We certainly haven't got to that stage as yet.
No, I think. Sorry to interrupt, Karen. Yeah, I think our upcoming webinars will cover sort of the, sort of approval process and the quality monitoring and that. I don't think we are there yet, as Karen said, in terms of what our model will look like, but there will be, it will be there well in advance, so you will know what will be happening well in advance of delivery.
Thanks, Jill. We've got a question: is there a requirement to show evidence for the TQA? So do you mean the technical qualification, or do you mean something else, Noel?
Do you mean the moderation? Because I did mention that I think it was going to be called a TQA. I'm not really sure what you mean, Noel, either, sorry.
If you want,
it's very difficult when you've not got a voice, isn't it? You've just got to tap in.
Absolutely. I'm just, Noel's saying of the work experience placement. So evidence that the work experience, the industry placement has taken place. Absolutely, yes. There needs to be evidence that that's happened. So I'm losing my place now.
So I can see one from Sammy which says about promotional posters. There isn't one for the management and business one on the website as yet. I hadn't picked up on that, so we'll take that back and find out, unless you know, Karen.
No, I've not picked up on that either, but they ought to be ready very soon, because obviously as providers you'll be starting to look at your plans and your recruitment for next year. So yeah, we will take that back. I have a question from Charlotte. If the employer set project is the skills development in employment, will undertaking a placement in year 2 after the employer set project is completed in year 1 cause issues or disadvantage students? I think with the, would it be useful to go back to the slides? Let me move this. I really don't know how to answer that. I mean, obviously they need to have the ability to do that. I mean, they don't have to do it. I don't know when we've set the exams for, Jill. Are you will they have the employer set project in year 1?
That was the proposal, that they would take place in year 1 and the OS in the second year. Yes. And I guess, yeah, I mean, when we come to curriculum planning, that's going to be one of the things, isn't it? It's going to be, getting that whole thing in place. So when is the best time to put people into a placement, and is it going to disadvantage them if they've not done all of the work placement in year 1? So yes,
I think
it's a good question.
What we'll do, yeah, we'll have a chat with the development manager. They're the guys that are actually writing and finalising the qualification, and we'll come back to you after this webinar with that one. If that's rather than give you a half-baked answer, let's give you a proper answer when we've spoken to the experts. Sally, I'm not sure I'm following your question. IT is construction. Okay, thanks. I'll probably jump in the gun. Okay. So Charlotte's asking, this is one for you, Jill, really, around, you said the exams will be completed within a window. How is this monitored to stop sharing and questions online? I mean, I think it's the employer set project that is done within a window. I think the exams will be as they normally are, you know, on a set date at a set time. But normal exam processes that are fairly standard to City and Guilds would apply. Don't know if there's anything you want to add, Jill.
No, I would agree. I would agree that, you know, the usual sort of exam conditions will apply. And as we said before, we thought we'd share today about the assessments and where they're up to. But that final sort of the quality aspect will be layered on top of that, and will become more apparent as we move into that curriculum planning stage, so that we can see what happens when and what needs to happen first, and that kind of thing. But yeah, there will certainly be measures to avoid anything like the sharing of questions online. Definitely, Charlotte.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, as an awarding organisation, that's very much our business. So you can assure us that will be in place. Caroline's asked if we've got any information or leaflets out to give to prospective learners. We have got one specifically for management and admin that's designed for you to use with learners and their parents, because we obviously understand that parents have an influence on this next step for 16-year-olds. So the links that we've given you to our web pages have got those documents or leaflets that you can download. So they are quite useful as a sort of a starting point for the conversation. So Andrew, we can't answer your question at the moment around what evidence is needed for the work placement. We're not at that stage yet. You know, I don't know whether it will just be to sign to make a statement that it's happened, or whether there would be something more detailed. We're just, you know, in reality, it's the technical qualification that City and Guilds are responsible for. Not the full breadth of the T-level. So it's not something that we've been involved with, unless, Jill, you know something else?
No, I don't know any more than that, Karen.
No, okay. So Sammy, you've said, yeah, one will be available. If you go to the website for the leaflets, they'll be on there for you to download. And again, Noel, you've asked about, is there a prescribed process for that work? We've been asked not to call it work experience. We've been asked to call it an industry placement to differentiate it from, you know, the sort of school work experience. So, but yes, again, it isn't for us to develop that and dictate it, because the T-level belongs to the Institute for Apprenticeships, and we've won the bid to develop and offer as an awarding organisation the technical qualification. So that one is out of our hands.
But in the slide where I showed you, where there's some documents that have been produced around that industry placement, there is some really good guidance, because there is guidance around how you need to plan it. And, you know, it's not work experience. It's not just about going and sort of being involved in a workplace and soaking it all up. It's about getting some actual placement experience within an industry. So there will be prescribed processes around what they need to cover whilst they're there, what they need to have the opportunity to do to develop those skills and experiences whilst they're in that placement. Whereas when somebody goes on work experience, sometimes, I'm not saying every time, but sometimes they just basically soak it all up and make the tea. But this is not going to be like that, because this is going to be more about, you know, planning it out, making sure the employer understands what they're needed to do whilst that learner's in that placement, etc. So have a look. As Karen says, it's not part of the technical qualification, so it's not what we've been doing, but I do know that the guidance is out there, the information is out there for you to access.
Okay. So it's saying, we've got a question from Charlotte. Is it 24 guided learning hours for the project or 24 for them to complete it? So the project is, it's 24.5 hours. It is the project that they will have that amount of time to deliver it. So, you know, three days or possibly over 4 days. It's not the guided learning, it's the assessment. That was the piece that Jill covered. Andrew is asking, what is the logic behind having the core assessed at A star to E, whilst the other aspects are assessed pass merit distinction? I honestly don't know, Andrew. I think we've asked the same question, but it applies to all T levels. That's how they've decided. And then there is a calculation of how they determine the overall grade. I don't know if there's any other insights that we've managed to get from IFATE. Jill, are you aware of?
No, absolutely not. No.
It absolutely seems strange.
Some things are a given. Some things, you know, whilst we've been, you know, engaging with providers all year and technical experts to develop the qualification, there was quite a lot of it that was a given. So we don't always know what the reasoning behind it was.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because all new standards, apprenticeship standards that are coming out have dropped the merit. So it's either a pass or a distinction. However, they've got, with T levels, they've got the merit in there as well. So there's not a consistent approach coming through at all here at all.
No. Andrew's asked a question there about the employer set project task, which is a good question. So you're absolutely right. It won't have to link back to their specific work placement, their industry placement, but we're just suggesting that gives them a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more chance to you know, put some real experience into it, but it doesn't specifically link back to their industry placement, no.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've come to the bottom of the question, so I don't know if there's any others that are immediately springing to mind. I think we've had some good interest, and I really appreciate you asking the questions. And I think it is, you know, when we won the bid, well, this time last year, Jill and I were very new to this type of programme, and we spent a lot of time getting our heads around which was sat within our remit as an awarding organisation and what sits within IFATE's remit. So understand where you're coming from and where you're at the moment. So bear with us, keep coming to the webinars, look at what we've got on the website, and I'm sure it'll all fall into place very quickly. Anything to add there, Jill? We seem to have gone through the questions.
No, nothing. Yes, the PowerPoint will be available, Claire, after the session.
Okay.
And all past PowerPoints and recordings are usually on the website there as well.
Yeah, most definitely. So you can catch up on some of the previous ones as well. Well, we'll give you 5 minutes back to go and grab a cup of tea before your next activity of the day. Thank you so much for your attention and your interest today. And, you know, we look forward to working with you, not just over the next 12 months, but beyond that as well, you know, as we move into the delivery phase this time next year. It'll fly by.
Yeah, well, and thanks very much for your questions. That was really good that you gave us some questions today, because some of these are a bit lonely when you're virtual. Thanks, guys. We'll see you again next time.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.